Alright lads, it's been a little while since we've done one of these 2005 videos. I know I hyped up Eureka 7 as being some sort of big epic put down, some sort of big epic scripted analytical diatribe, and I started writing it, and halfway through I was like, this just isn't enjoyable, because I just have to watch this show that I don't really like multiple times just so that I can prove a point. It's stupid. So I'm just gonna summarize my problems with Eureka 7 in this video, in this rather disappointing return to 2005, the only show on the internet where no thank you reviews every anime that came out in 2005. We're now on to the spring season, and so we have Eureka 7, a show which I have previously mentioned I don't like that much. And part of it is preferences. I'm not really a mecha guy, I'm not really a shonen guy. It's just not my sort of thing. So obviously this is not really going to be my particular cup of tea, but I wanted to analyze some more stuff about specifically why I think Eureka 7 gets way more praise than it deserves. I believe Glass Reflection actually made a video about why he doesn't like Eureka 7. It might not have been Glass Reflection. Someone else made a video, but it wasn't very good. So I'm just going to make my video here. Okay. So first thing, Eureka 7 aired on Western TV. So a lot of people saw it as kids or when they were first getting into anime, and that already gives a rose-tinted goggles type of situation to it. But I don't think that's the only reason people like it. So I'm going to say why it's bad. I have a theory for building a narrative, building a media building a show, that there's basically this holy trinity. At the base, maybe I should do some schizo post diagrams real quick. That's a good idea. Okay, so things are based off of three main components. You have characters. You have setting, and you have narrative. I'll just write plot. Right, and this is the holy trinity. However, don't ask me why this is over there. Also, it's backwards. Whatever. So these are the base. Characters and setting. These are the base. You can't really have characters without setting, because it doesn't make sense. How can characters not be anywhere? And you can't really have if you just have a setting without characters. It's possible, like Koyaanisqatsi does it, but it's at that point you're going into the really avant-garde type of situation. So most things won't really do it. So in general, we can make the assumption that characters and setting are very important. But you can easily have characters and setting without a plot, but you can't have a plot without characters or setting. So therefore, these two come first, and plot builds upon them. So I guess I'll do it like this. Right? Plot builds upon them. So, we're going to take this shit apart now. Eureka 7 fails the base level. Fails the characters, it fails the setting. How does it fail the characters? Let's get this started first. Okay, how does it fail the characters? Well, this is not even a hot take. A lot of people agree with me on this. That Renton is one of the most annoying anime protagonists ever. He learns and grows incredibly slowly. People think Shinji's a little bitch. At least Shinji's written like semi-realistically. Renton has super ill thought through goals in life. Like, he runs off to join, I guess you can make the excuse it's because he's a child, but he's not, it's not that it's not realistic, it's that it's not good. It's just bad. He wants to fuck Eureka, right? Also, I'm gonna call it Eureka and not Eureka, even though it's, just because that's how they say it in the show. There's fireworks going off, that's weird. I don't know why there's fireworks going off. Renton's annoying. You can find a billion videos about why Renton's shit. But Renton's annoying. Eureka, this is my biggest problem. Eureka is not a cute girl or a good character at all. Every possibility she would have to come... Firstly, she's just Ray. She's just shit Ray. She's just Ray but worse, somehow. Secondly, any attempt that there may be to sort of get to her having an interesting character is immediately shut down by the plot's just fucking incessant refusal to acknowledge her separate from her children, right? They will not separate her because that's where the entire forced romantic tension of the series comes from. There would be no romantic tension if it wasn't for these bullshit characters who are also incredibly annoying. Almost to the point where they're one of the biggest reasons I hated watching this show, is because these children, all they do, their only purpose is to get in the way of the romance between Renton and Eureka. That's their only purpose in the plot. They're just forced in there to be as annoying as possible, to shut down any romantic progression, because the show has to last for 50 episodes. Bullshit. So any attempt to even get to Eureka is shut down by... Okay, firstly, the plot has so much forced intrigue, as in... so many of these... The story would be about 2 episodes long if Renton just asked, hey, what the fuck's going on? And the people just gave him a straight answer. But because the show doesn't want to do that, they have all this mystery. Whoa, who knows what's going to happen next? Well, I should know what's going to happen next. I don't feel like I'm intrigued because the characters don't know. I feel like I'm just not being told because you want the plot to keep going for longer. It's fucking bullshit. The side characters, the characters in the fucking Gecko Estate, they're bullshit as well. And a lot of people really like them. And here's why they're bullshit. They look like shit, first of all. They look like shit. Their character designs are awful. Their personalities are, like, vague, like, not... They haven't... It feels like they just wanted to make a bunch of adult characters from the perspective of a kid. I understand what they mean. Like, there's no way a kid would understand adult characters like that, and it's supposed to be kind of told from the perspective of a kid, because this show is targeted at children, right? But I'm not a child, so I don't enjoy that, because I want to know how these adult characters think and feel. I want to actually be able to relate to them, because those are the people that are closer to my age and my experiences in life, right? It's not like they're 70, they're like in their 20s, right? Maybe even younger. So they're always shown as this sort of like alienating kind of thing, but what that actually means is they just act erratically because it's supposed to represent how a child doesn't understand why adults think that way. But I don't want to see that. I don't want that represented. I want to understand, because if I wanted that, I'd talk to someone. I want a fucking piece of media. I want a narrative. I want a cohesive story. I want something with characters that I understand. If I don't understand the characters, just withholding that information is not building intrigue. Just withholding that information is just frustrating. You that's the cheapest, boring way to build intrigue possible. And also, they look like shit. Their outfits are terrible. None of them are, like, iconic. And it's not just because the women characters are always dressed scantily for no reason, for male gaze reasons. I mean, look at fucking Cowboy Bebop. Look at, what's her name? Faye? Is her name Faye? I think her name's Faye. Her fucking, skimpy outfit is super iconic and cool. But all the women on the Gecko State thingy, they just dress in bikinis or crop tops for no reason, because horny 13-year-olds are watching, right? Even when it doesn't reflect their personalities at all. The character designs are ugly, but that's all personal preference, but I find them ugly. The mech designs, I'm not a mecha guy. Like, there really aren't times when I see a mech and I'm like, wow, that looks so cool. Even, what's some of the, I don't know, I've seen, like, yeah, none of them really... Mech designs just don't really appeal to me that much in general, so that's not really an appeal for me. But people say the surfing mech thing, it's like, come on, mate. Come on, surfing mechs. Firstly, it was already done in 2004. There was another show that had surfing mechs. Look it up. Secondly, it's just sort of like a pure spectacle. It doesn't... there's no... I guess you could say that it's thematically relevant in that the Gecko Estate characters are supposed to be sort of nomadic surfer dudes who just go with the flow, and therefore their method of transportation is just going with the literal flow of the air. That's a bit of thematic cohesion. I can appreciate that. But beyond that, it's just sort of a stylistic gimmick, in my opinion. The setting. Let's get more into the setting of this. So the world is actually quite interesting, but it's a shame that the show just constantly withholds information about the world because it wants because there would be no plot if it told you how the world worked. The whole point of the show is to very slowly drip feed you information about how this world works and never give you the satisfaction of actually figuring it out unless you're willing to sit through 50 episodes of trash to find out, which I'm not, so I just don't know. If you take another shonen that has a really interesting world dynamic, like Hunter x Hunter, for example, Hunter x Hunter definitely it doesn't tell you everything about how the world works from the start. If it did, it would be crazy. Who would ever do that? Horizon in the middle of nowhere. Who would ever have a massive info dump at the end of the first episode where a narrator comes and just tells you the entire history of the world? Horizon in the middle of nowhere. Like, that would be terrible, except it's great. Sorry. But like Hunter x Hunter, the reason it doesn't tell you everything about the world at the start is because the world is just too complex. It would overload you with information, and it's trying to focus on characters at first, right? So, but it does teach you about the world as you go along. And you could say that Eureka 7 does the same thing. But there are moments where there's sudden or big changes in the way you perceive things in Hunter x Hunter. And that's really good because it sort of comes at the beginning or like in a key moment in each arc. And that's kind of sets the arc in motion, is when the audience has a key moment when they narratively perceive things different. So like the Nen would be the obvious one. Suddenly Nen is introduced and then suddenly the entire arc is focused around Nen. So you have a concept introduced and then an entire arc centered around making sure the audience understands that concept in detail. Or the Chimera Ant arc, right? Same sort of thing. Whereas with this show, rather than having those really cool moments of interesting concepts, it does the Doctor Who thing where it sort of suggests there might be an interesting concept if you just keep watching the next episode. Here's some mysterious, what's it called? Some mysterious suggestion that something's happening that you don't understand. Keep watching and you might find out, but it doesn't. It's not interesting. And as soon as something not interesting, it's exactly the same as Doctor Who under Moffat, right? It instead of actually writing interesting concepts, they found really interesting ways to pretend that an interesting concept is about to be introduced, but they never actually do it because they don't have the ideas. So they will present it as if something's about to happen, something interesting is about to be revealed. If you just keep watching the next episode, it's going to get interesting. Whoa, when's this revelation going to come? The revelation comes, is obviously underwhelming, and then as soon as that happens and it's underwhelming, they say, well, that revelation was just a minor part of this bigger thing. So keep watching the next episode and you might find out what the bigger thing was. I just want to fucking know what's happening. I just want to know what the world is. I don't care about any of that shit. I just want to be I just want to understand. It's just frustrating. You're just not telling me, and you're pretending that is enough that's engagement. That you're pretending that my frustration not knowing how anything works is engagement when it's been fucking 15 episodes and you still haven't told me the basics of what any of these people are doing, what their goals are. You've just been having them speak in vagaries, even though it would be there's no plot reason, there's no reason for them to be doing that other than because you want to keep the audience frustrated in the dark because that's the only way they're going to keep watching. So I've now decimated this fucking show, and I haven't even talked about the plot. And I'm going to tell you why I haven't talked about the plot. Because I never saw the plot. I never got that far in the show. I watched, God, how many episodes did I watch? 14 episodes, right? That's almost the whole show of another show, right? In fact, it's more than many shows. Lots of shows are 13 episodes and can have a completely cohesive story arc. I watched 14 episodes of this shit, and there was just the beginnings of the actual story going forwards with the tornado bullshit. And I was like, I don't give a fuck. I just don't care what happens to these characters because these characters all are annoying. I hate them because they all purposefully withhold information from each other, cause stupid problems because they're badly written, because that's the only way you can make intrigue happen. Maybe if that had happened in episode 3, or if you'd built more interesting characters for it to happen to, or a more interesting world where these things sort of came naturally, I would have cared. But I don't fucking care because I don't care about Who's Eureka? Who is she? It doesn't feel like no one knows. It feels like everyone knows. They're just not telling me because they're assholes. It doesn't feel like, oh, Eureka is some mysterious femme fatale with a tragic backstory. It feels like, oh, for fuck's sake, how many more episodes do I have to watch until they fucking tell me what's going on? It's stupid. It's stupid. It's poorly written. The animation, which everyone freaks out about, is just fine. Like, I've seen impressive battle animation. Doesn't really impress me because the choreography of the fights isn't good. Like, take Ghost Alone standalone shell. Ghost in the Shell standalone complex, right? The animation's great throughout, but the fight animation isn't super framey and fancy swinging cameras, characters going everywhere, missiles flying around. It's just well choreographed action because it's directed like an action movie. Cowboy Bebop, same thing. It's the fighting is well animated, but more importantly than that, it works. The reason it works being well animated is because the choreography is there to make it feel like an impactful fight. Like, fight choreography is a whole skill. It's a whole fucking thing. There are people whose entire careers is just built on being good at fight choreography. There's an entire genre of movies that are built on just having good fight choreography. The whole kung fu movie genre is just that, right? You watch people, I don't know, the John Wick movies, same thing, right? This show does not give a fuck about fight choreography. All it cares about is throwing colours and shapes at you in a way that makes you think something cool's going on. Like, you might imagine something cool's going on over there, but you can't quite make it out. It's kind of like how the Transformers movies do fights. Just have everything be really big and moving, and then you'll just sort of fill in that there's something happening, but nothing's really happening, but you'll sort of fill it in with your brain. No, I want to see what's happening. I want to see characters actually fighting with, like, interesting action dynamics and stuff like that. Watch a fucking Jackie Chan movie for once. Watch fucking Drunken Master, mate. I don't know, watch Ip Man. Watch, I don't know, there's a billion great movies. Watch a John Woo film. They don't. I've never seen a mecha show that actually has good combat. I haven't seen that many mecha shows, but none of them seem to have very good combat. I don't know why people think they have good combat. They don't. So there we go. That's Eureka 7 being a bad show that I'm not rewatching because I tried and it's hell, and I hate it even more than I hated it the first time. 4 out of 10. Closer to a 5 than a 3, but it's 4. I was going to say something else about... We're going to do a general recap on the first season of 2005, which I may still do. Just to tell you my best of and worst of winter 2005. So I guess I'll do that real quick. I'll just run through the notable anime because most of them are trash. So if you're just watching this and you're like, give me some suggestions, this is what I would recommend. So the only ones that are really interesting, Mahoraba, obviously. Mahoraba Heartful Days, amazing show. Definitely would recommend that if you like slice of lives and romances and stuff like that, and dramas. Even if you don't typically like anime romance, this one's done very well, but mostly it's like a slice of life kind of situation. Really good. If you like Hidamari Sketch, K-On!, you'll probably like it. What else is good? Buzzer Beater is like a so bad it's good kind of situation. Don't bother watching the whole show, but watch some of it. It's quite funny. Yuji Ultimate Girls is a pretty good comedy. Yeah, it's pretty decent. It's like lewd humor, low brow, great low brow otaku humor, pretty great. It's like a parody of tokusatsu, and I think that's basically all of my opinions. Yeah, nothing else I would really recommend out of that season. So we're moving on to spring. We've done the first one. Tick that off the list. Next up, we're going to be watching Hachimitsu to Clover, or Honey and Clover, which is a show I've been meaning to watch for years. I have no idea what it's about, but I do know that it was voted as the best anime of all time in Japan multiple times. For some reason, the Japanese really love it, and the West don't really care about it. So I have a feeling I'm not gonna like it that much since it's probably it that like being voted as the best anime of all time by a general audience generally means it's kind of like a for clarity in that same thing the West voted for um the fucking Full Metal Alchemist, so it's probably going to be a very broad appeal normie kind of show. Not really my thing. I guess we'll see how good it is. I don't have any high hopes for it, but I guess we'll find out, won't we? Yeah, gang shit, fo, crab, you know what I'm saying? Watch Plunder's video on my channel. Plot character setting t-shirts coming out soon. Oh yeah, give me money. I'm really poor right now. I desperately need Patreon support. If you want to give me $1, get a drawing. If you want to give me more than that, you get many songs. Buy my music. In fact, that's even better. Just buy my music. Why am I shelling myself? Sorry.